So we're here on August 20th, celebrating National Nonprofit Day, and we're here to learn some skills of advocacy as well as how to build an active network of advocates for your nonprofit. One of the things that I have found over and over again, the biggest need for nonprofits, large or small, local or national or global, is the need for more advocates, more people carrying the flag, more people spreading the news, sharing the mission, all of those good things. And so I wanted to talk about advocacy today with all of you to see how it's working, what's not, and as well as share some of the best practices I've seen and really help your organizations have more advocates, have better advocacy programs, and really achieve your missions. I am so passionate about the nonprofit space. It is something that I've grown into from experience on a board and figuring out what it meant to be a good board member, what it meant to be an advocate. And the more and more I learn about the nonprofit space, the social sector, the more passionate I get about helping each of you achieve your mission. Because it is your mission that you've recognized you're bridging a gap. And by actively working to bridge that gap, you are making our world a better place. And I am just so thankful for each and every one of you um, doing that good work. So, congratulations for you. Thank you so much for the work that you do. Now, before we get into our conversations, I want to have a little bit of discussion about some of the definitions so we can all be talking about advocacy in the same way and effectiveness and what some of those words mean. What advocacy means to me is that you're going to support or promote the interest of a cause or a group. Thanks to Merriam-Webster, that's what they say. To support or promote the interest of a person or group. So that's the kind of advocacy we're talking about here today. We're talking about your mission, your cause, and how to better support or promote, to market, if you want to use that word, that cause. Who here knows, by maybe just a show of hands, what the 5 T's of philanthropy are? The Center for Nonprofit Excellence in Charlottesville, they were having a philanthropy day earlier in the year, and someone was mentioning these, and I thought they were so good and really put an interesting perspective on advocacy. So I'd like to introduce those. So we know time, talent, and treasure. We've heard those three. Time, the volunteer work that people give to an organization, sharing their energy, their physical experiences. Talent, using your skills or expertise to contribute. So the first thing that comes to mind to me is having a bookkeeper or someone to do your to keep your books. That could be something that is given, or you're using a talent to help a nonprofit. Then there's treasure, of course. Anybody know what treasure is? Anybody know what fundraising looks like? There's ties. Ties is the fourth one, and this is about building relationships and opening the doors. And this is where I think advocacy really comes in. How well will you share your network with your organization, or how well do others share their network with your organization and to the achievement of its mission? And the fifth one is testimony. So advocating for the cause or sharing your experience. And that's really what we're talking about here today. And I think in those last two, ties and testimony, you find a lot of times what's missing in a nonprofit. I will dare to say board, because those are the people I know. You find that you need the network opened, but there's a struggle there in opening that network, or you need them to share their experience, their interest. And we'll get into talking about how to build that active network. We all want to know how we can be a better advocate. So the first part of building an active network of advocates is working on our own ability to be a good advocate. And there are a lot of barriers to that. There's time, there's having the resources and the ability to communicate, all those barriers. But what I found is that the real problem is that we tend to focus more on consuming than on creating. And why do we do that? Because it's easier, right? It's easier to consume on social media. It's easier to consume other people's videos, other people's posts, other people's thoughts, ideas. We just took a trip up to Connecticut, and I'm always overwhelmed by this, but just the sheer quantity of billboards on the highway. Like, I would love to see the study about how many crashes happen, like, and what billboards are there, because it is just like, it feels like spam. Like you can't even drive anywhere without being bombarded with information. So it's easier to consume than to create. So that's why, to be a better advocate, we need to lean into our creativity. We need to lean into creating content, creating experience, creating conversation that is going to share about the mission of your organization, about the good work that's being done. And so this is kind of going to open up our networking as well as be a little activity. Some of you may have already done this exercise with me, but if you have, it's time to redo it because it's been a while. I know I haven't done it with anyone in a while. But we're going to lean in to articulating our mission, our inspiration, and our impact. So as it's, I always find it's easier, and what I share with you today is a formula really for how to create a story, how to create a conversation. You can think of this like an elevator pitch, but instead of, hi, I'm Elise Woodworth, this is what I do, this is how I do it, blah, blah, blah. That's great. But then people just move on. So instead, I'm encouraging you to think about your mission, your inspiration, and your impact. When you group these things together, not only is it going to be something that you can share, but it will help develop a core message about your organization that is irresistible to other people. It's interesting that people actually want to hear more about. So mission, what is it that your organization is doing? I find a lot of times there's this is what our website says our mission is, and then this is what we're actually doing. This is what we actually do. So I encourage people to think in their own words about what that mission is. We're bridging this gap, or we are filling this need. And that might sound differently to each one of you, and I can't wait to hear about those things. So what's your mission? That's pretty straightforward. The next part is inspiration. What has inspired you to become involved in the organization? What inspires you to continue to be involved in the organization? I don't think any of you will be surprised that the nonprofit space is not the most monetarily rewarding. Doesn't have the most benefits. You're not getting the most kickback, or I've lost the word, but you're not being rewarded in a monetary way. There's something that is inspiring you to continue this work. Even if it is your paid work, there's still something inspiring you to continue to be a part of that organization. So share that. In mission, inspiration, and impact, that's something that I encourage you to work on every quarter. Like, to think about how you're going to present yourself to other people, or your mission. How are you going to do that, and how can you engage? We know that it's really great to have one as yourself, or maybe a couple more advocates. But what about building a team of people that are ready to spread the good news about the work you're doing? So not just you anymore, but being able to go to 5 Zoom meetings one afternoon and share the same mission and the same passion for an organization, or being able to share that is amplifies the voice. And that's why it's important to also work on building an active network of advocates. Now, you all have the first piece, and to me, that is awareness. There are 4 A's we're going to talk about here. There's awareness, aim, activities, and action, and we're going to go through these. So first is awareness. Awareness of what your mission is, what your inspiration is, and what impact you're having. But also awareness of who's on your bus. So yes, there's awareness of what's going on and what to say, but then there's also the awareness of who to say it to. Once you have that awareness, you can start to kind of aim. You can start to aim with intention. Aim with intention at who you want to speak for your organization and what you want them to say. Now, when I am talking with someone who works for a nonprofit and we're talking about the board, A lot of times that board could be more impactful with their sharing, their spreading of the good news, right? And so we look at that and we say, I would love for these people on my bus, this group, this board of people, to open their network, to open their ties to the organization, give them something to say. Share share the activity, the mission, inspiration and impact activity with them. Have them go through that exercise at your next board meeting. Give them an opportunity to form their own elevator pitch about the organization so that they have something in their hip pocket that they can share, and then encourage them to share it. Um, so I've kind of gone ahead of myself again, and we've moved into activity. But doing something like that at a board meeting, where you're having an activity around building an active network of advocates, is one example of how to build that network up. Explain that this is something the organization needs. We need to grow our network. We need to expand our reach. We need more people to know about us, or who we're trying to partner with, or how we're trying to get connected, um, which kind of leans into the lobbying, like who and how are we trying to um, have introduced to the organization? Because those are the people that you might not know personally. They might not be the first people on your bus, but they might be the first people on someone else's bus. And you never know who those folks are unless you ask, unless you present it in a way of, this is something you can do for our organization. This is how you can do it. Um, I'm interested to hear if there are any other activity type of things that you do to build community and advocacy in your organizations. One other thing that came to mind was having a wear a color day. Like, you wear red for veterans on Friday, or um, the nose, the wear the red nose situation, where you're spreading happiness, and it's connected to Save the Children, I think is the name of the organization. But they're doing something physical, and it is spreading the mission. And those are kind of low cost, no cost options. Um, it could be share a social post or an email, something easy, simple, quick, cost less. The fourth A in this is action. So this is where we actually put a plan into place. Um, this might be follow carryover from my time in the Air Force or at VMI, but I find that the best way to create something or to have something happen is to plan for it. You have to make a plan. So if you want to grow your advocacy, if you want to grow this community of advocates, put it into an action plan. What are the next steps for advocates once you have someone who's interested in sharing more about their testimony or their ties with the organization? How can they do that? What are those things that you can give back to them, so that as you're reaching out to these people on your bus and you're giving them a message, you can continue to grow this community of advocates that are standing up for your organization, they're spreading the word, and really creating a foundation for community which achieves your mission, which bridges that gap that you've set out to do. And the other thing that I encourage people to think about as they're putting an advocacy plan or some plan like this together, is to think about what the needs of the organization are. So the plan might be about advocates, but do you need a bookkeeper? Do you need a banker? Do you need to make more connections with similar organizations in the community? Think about what those needs are, so that they're easier to communicate, so that your advocates can be given the awareness, that you can share that with them, so they can go out and help fill those needs for the organization. And I think by doing that, by having that plan laid out, and maybe it's once a year, twice a year that you look at it, and refresh it, but you get to see how your needs have changed and how you can communicate that. Debbie, did you have something? As we sign off, I want to remind you all that you're in business, not battle, and to ignite, inspire, and grow wherever you go. Have a great afternoon, everyone.